It's a pleasure to be back with you again this morning. Give you a little bit of an update on what's happening. Our daughter, Alyssa, is teaching at a preschool in Harrisburg area. So she's there, and our son, Donovan, is a freshman at Kutztown University studying environmental sciences. So part of our home assignment is making sure that he gets settled in well and adjusts well to college life. And praise God, so far that's going very well. Last time we were on home assignment was in 2012 when Alyssa had graduated from RVA and was getting started at school. So we're grateful to see her progressing in her career. She's dealing with typically 3- and 4-year-olds, and she's loving every minute of it. She sends us pictures and videos of her and the kids all the time. So we're grateful to see that. We are grateful for God's provision over the time that we've been on the field and even here at home. Without folks like you who support us, we couldn't do what we do. And in our presentation, we'll explain about the new responsibilities that we've been given this past term and what that's been like for us. If you would, just keep our kids in your prayers. As I said, Donovan just starting out in school, and Alyssa in her work. If you can pray for traveling mercies for us. And also this week, if you would keep Rift Valley Academy in mind, they're on a midterm break right now, and when they come back, they will have a spiritual emphasis week. That's a time when a speaker comes in, and we actually take a break from our normal schedule at the school, and we really concentrate on their relationship with God. And it's a time when a lot of students reflect and have grown, and they say that that's been a pivotal time in their lives. So we just ask that you would pray for the staff and students at RVA as Spiritual Emphasis Week is coming on. Is there anything you want to share? You get 2 for 1 today, by the way. She will speak a little bit. Before we get started here this morning, there is a short video we'd like to show you. And it talks about the goals of AIM. So at this time, if we can show that video.
This is Africa. This is my home.
Africa is not merely a continent shrouded in mystery, defined by war or famine. Africa is not a hopeless remnant of the third world. Africa is unexpected.
Most of all, Africa is people. 1 billion souls, thousands of unique ethnic groups and cultures, speaking 2,000 languages, spread across 57 African nations and around the globe. People, beautiful, colorful, hospitable, spiritual. Africa is also the church.
It is a growing church, hopeful, but facing tremendous challenges.
Today, over 900 African people groups are still unreached, with no viable witness to the transforming power of Jesus Christ. Hundreds of millions live behind political, geographical, and even religious barriers.
This is Africa. This is also my home. For over a century, Africa Inland Mission has sought to overcome these barriers through people compelled by Christ's love and the Great Commission.
Africa Inland Mission is 1,000 missionaries across more than 20 countries, partnering with hundreds of African churches, united in one purpose: Christ-centered churches among all African peoples. Communities of believers that display transformed lives, proclaim Christ, and make disciples. Africa Inland Mission is joining God in what He's doing in Africa and among Africa's peoples. Joined by countless prayer and financial partners around the world. Joining with the African Church in taking the good news of Jesus Christ to the ends of the earth.
Our presentation this morning is entitled Reaching the Unreached. And as you saw in the video, the goal of Africa Inland Mission is to have Christ-centered churches among all African peoples. A lot of times when we think about missions, we think about the way it's been done or how it's being done. And one of those ways is through traditional, what was referred to as traditional missions, where missionaries go and live among a remote people group and share the gospel with that group while they're living among them, often referred to as bush missionaries. Another way that's being done these days is tent making. This often occurs in places where the environment is hostile to the gospel. And instead of going in as missionaries, people go in as businessmen, they go in as perhaps English teachers, even students. And in their daily interactions with people, they're able to begin to open up about their faith and share the gospel with people. This is a very tricky and sometimes dangerous portion of missions. Another way that is just getting started, really, is looking into our own backyard. There are many pockets of immigrants around the United States, many of them from African communities. And AIM has started an initiative where they are sending missionaries into those pockets of immigrants here in the United States and sharing the gospel with them in the hope that when they return to their home country, then they will share the gospel with others who are like themselves from the same community. And they will be able to reach people that we could never reach. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our ministry and how we are involved with AIM. We are at Rift Valley Academy. It's one of Africa Inland Mission's educational ministries. It was established in 1906. It's a boarding school for missionary children. They come from around the world, as you heard earlier, and their parents are serving somewhere on the continent of Africa. We have about 500 children at the school. We are located in Kijabe, which is about an hour and a half northwest of the capital, Nairobi, and we are situated on the side of a mountain about 7,500 feet above sea level. It's a beautiful place to work and to minister. So to give you an idea about what we do there, first I'm going to allow my wife Janice to speak about her duties.
Good morning, everyone. All right. This is unusual. In all of our years going out on the road, Lamar's always been the main speaker because I had a child or two sitting with me. So now I get to actually talk. It shows great flexibility on Lamar's part, and just pray for me as I do this. I like talking to students. Adults scare me a little bit more. So I was actually trained as a business education teacher many years ago. I worked for over 20 years in the Lancaster County Career and Tech Center system as a business ed teacher. I taught computer applications and web design and all kinds of crazy things like that, and I actually did get my ESL certification as well. So I worked with students that had English as their second language. And those things have actually transitioned well with me into Rift Valley Academy because we have students from all over the place. The common language is English, but it's not everybody's first language because as Carol had shared, there are a number of students who come from many other countries. We have students from Korea. We have students from places in South America. We have students from all kinds of European countries. So we get to deal with a lot of students coming to try to get their education there at Rift Valley Academy, but we teach in English, so they have to be well-versed enough in English to survive in the classroom, to actually gather the material that's expected of them. So that's been very helpful to have that background. You know, if somebody would have told me back in the 80s when I was in college that I was going to end up teaching in Africa, I probably would have said, no way. But that's how God works. So through the years at RVA, I served as a teacher in the computer department, so I still worked teaching the junior high students how to use a computer, teaching them how to type and do all those computer application things. But I also was a dorm parent. We had a dorm throughout a couple of our terms there. So the big change, though, came during our furlough when we were back getting Alyssa started at Messiah in 2012-2013 year. Lamar got a phone call about getting a change for his job, but I knew that would bring a change to mine as well. Because as a dorm parent, I was only able to teach part-time. With him moving into a different full-time responsibility, I knew that meant the end of dorm parenting for us. And so we actually went through a period of mourning, grieving the loss of dorm parenting, because we really did love it. Not everybody enjoys having 16 junior high girls living with them. Can you believe that? But we really did. And actually, when we had come home for our home assignment, we were looking forward to switching over to junior high boys. Yes, we are those people who enjoy that kind of thing. So God, I guess, was trying to let us know that He had some different plans for us. And so as we returned, they looked at me and said, Janice, we'd like you to be the guidance director. I'm like, Lord, why? What do I have to offer? And so back then they explained to me that you're a mom, you're a teacher, you've been a dorm parent, you've had so many experiences here that can help you to go through this role. So that's what I became. So I it was another chance to trust the Lord's leading and take me to places I never dreamt I would be. And so I became the guidance director, and that meant that I created and maintained all of the student schedules. There are 500 students. Now about 125, 150 of those are in the elementary school area, but the rest of them all counted on me to help them put together their schedules and make them all work well together. We have a 7-period class day. Create and maintain all the student grades, transcripts, diplomas. I coordinated and supervised standardized testing like SATs and ACTs and AP classes and exams. Never something that I had on my radar. I also got to coordinate the student support and the ESL services and review application materials and make recommendations regarding admissions candidates. Every student that comes to RVA, the parents have to fill out an application and they have to meet certain standards. The English level, the English speaking and reading level is a part of that. But students have to be approved to come to RVA. Not everybody gets in. So there are a number of different components to that application process. So I actually get to help with determining which students actually get into the school. And then one of the main duties that I had is communicating with teachers, with dorm parents, with administrators, government agencies. Believe it or not, Kenya actually does govern RVA to a point, but then also some governmental agencies here in the U.S., and then also educational organizations. But most of all, the part that I was really concerned I was going to be missing out on, being taken out of the classroom and out of the dorm, I was concerned I wasn't going to have any contact with students. But that actually turns out to be one of my favorite parts of this new job. I get to work with the kids one-on-one. I have students in my office all the time. They have study hall class periods, or they come at lunchtime, they come after school, and so I still get that one-on-one student contact. It's not like this, where I have a whole group to work with, but that's what I get to do on those SAT days. I get to have about 75 kids in the library, and I get to do my classroom teacher stuff then. But I still get to listen to the students and discuss things with students as they plan their coursework and they talk about what their plans are for the future. So those are some of my best times. I love working with the kids in that capacity. You also have to remember, these students aren't living with their parents normally. They are living at Rift Valley Academy, a boarding school. They don't get to see their parents for 6 or 12 weeks at a time. So when they're talking about career goals and what kind of schools they should look at for the future and what kind of classes they should take, they're talking to us because we're the people that are right with them all the time. When they go home on breaks or when they get a chance to talk with their folks over Skype or on the phone or something, they can talk about those things, but there's a lot of day-to-day questions that come up, and they ask us, the staff members there at RVA. We really are an extension of their family. So there are great responsibilities that are placed on our shoulders as staff members there at RVA, but we are all about the students because the Lord has called their parents to serve somewhere on the continent of Africa. The students then also play a part because they're the next generation of Christians in Africa, and we need to make sure that we are guiding them the best way we can. So there's great responsibility there. Along with my day-to-day duties, I also supervise a number of people. When I was a classroom teacher, I supervised students. Now I get to supervise grown-ups. It's a little bit different for me. But I have a guidance assistant. I have a college counselor. There's a staff member who serves as a full-time college counselor. They start working with sophomores towards the end of their sophomore year, juniors and seniors. It's a constant process, working through which exams they should try to take, what kind of classes they should take, what schools should they apply for. Missionary kids like to get scholarships too, so they try to work through those processes with them as well. Some students who are not U.S. citizens but want to actually go to the U.S. for educational activities, educational options, they have to go through the whole visa process. So believe it or not, our staff members actually work with the students through that as well. And all along this time, we're praying with them and helping to do our best to guide them in the right direction. I also have a student support coordinator and a student support assistant that I supervise, work with on a one-on-one basis all the time. And I also have the ESL assistant. And I serve by virtue of office. I get to serve as a department head. I serve on the Academic Concerns Committee, academic technology, because my background was computer technology, and I use a number of computer systems within my role. I get to work with that as well. I work with the Admissions Commission, and I also work on the accreditation team. Now, that's a lot of stuff. A lot of activities just on a day-to-day basis. Some of my biggest challenges over the past 3 years, or the following, the past 3 years, I've had 3 different principals. And that's difficult. You know, when I moved into my role, I was looking to the principal for guidance myself, because I'd never done this before. It's not something that I had trained for. So I looked to him for guidance, but then he transitioned out and somebody else transitioned in. So that second year, I got to train the principal, which in the guidance area, which seemed really odd to me. And then the third year, I got another principal, so I had to train that one as well. So that's the one hard part about missions. You know, I know we look forward to coming on a home assignment or furlough, however you want to call it, where we get to come home and see our family and our friends and our home churches and our sending churches and supporting churches, family. We get to do all the fun things to reconnect with folks. But that means that there's a hole left behind at our VA. So somebody's had to fill into my role and to Lamar's role for this year that we're gone. But that means that we constantly have a changeover in staff. Every year we go from anywhere from 30% to 50% of a staff changeover because of how home assignments work out, or people who are actually leaving the field permanently. So it's a place of big changes. So every year the staff looks so different. It's not like working in a school district around here where you may have a few new teachers in your building. This is a constant change. So that changeover is big, especially with the principals. I've also worked with 2 different college counselors, 2 ESL coordinators, and 6 student support professionals. So if you look at all of the duties, there was an awful lot of change. I know we deal with comings and goings all the time, and that can be difficult. We also are developing a new computer system for the student information system. You know, they count on me to keep track of the grades and transcripts and scheduling and all of that. And there's some I guess, special concerns there when you're talking about students who attend there and then leave and go all across the globe as adults. So we are in the process of we've been developing a new system, and we were working through a number of problems through the past few years. So that was definitely a challenge for me. All those organizations that I work with to do the standardized tests, they've undergone some major security changes over the years. And so I had to work through those changes in my role. And the last thing that was probably the main headache over the past few years was that we were working through our Middle States accreditation process. I know you might hear about that with schools here in your area. In order for our school to remain accredited by the organization. We have to do all kinds of paperwork, which involves pulling documentation with statistics and things regarding grades and how we develop coursework and standardized testing scores, and all of that came down to my office preparing all of that. And then I actually helped to work through on a number of committees to prepare for the arrival of the team. I'm happy to say in May the team came out, did their actual on-site visit. They were there for about 4 days and evaluated us and gave us a very nice report. So we're very thankful that that went well. So those are, that's just kind of a glimpse into what my role has been over the past few years. So I thank you for praying with us during these changeovers. It hasn't been an easy changeover, but I'm happy to say that, through the 3 years, I've grown to really love my new job. God's shown me that I was ready for some changes, and He's been with me every step of the way. So I thank you for that.
I too underwent some big changes in the position that I had. I was asked to take an administrative position called the Director of Services, and that has a lot of responsibility to it. If it was not involving direct educational issues or issues with boarding, it fell underneath me. So different departments that I had to supervise were vehicle shop, the grounds maintenance, custodial services, facilities maintenance, the maintenance stores, which is like our hardware store that we have on campus, security, the laundry, cafeteria, the school store, which is known as the arcade, student health services, physical therapy, and the human resources department. And I was also, by position, part of the administrative council and the steering council, which looks to direct the school in the path that we're leading. The duties that I had, I needed to ensure that our departments function efficiently and effectively, to set and monitor the budgets for those departments, oversee national staff. We have 88 national staff currently there. We also have missionary staff that I needed to oversee as well that worked in those departments. Construction projects on campus. I'm a diesel mechanic. I'm not a construction man, but we had a 3-story building that we were erecting on campus that I needed to oversee. I needed to discipline staff when that was needed. I hired and fired, set wages, and needed to make sure that we were within the Kenyan labor laws. I needed to ensure that our employees were covered with health care, monitor their pension plans, ensure compliance with the unions, and keep abreast of Kenyan labor law, traffic law, and tax law. Sounds really easy, doesn't it? So I learned a lot in that time going through those things. So you might say, well, what could go wrong? Well, in my first month as Director of Services, the Westgate terrorist attack occurred in Nairobi. And when that happened, we called an emergency administrative council meeting, and we discovered that we had 3 students who were at the mall with their parents. Through procedures that we have, we were able to make that determination pretty quickly. We were able to make contact with all 3 of the students and their families, and we were able to determine that they were safe. They managed to escape without any harm, and we were grateful for that. We did have one student who was on our campus who was a national student who lost 3 family members in that terrorist attack. And that kind of thing really hit close to home and really caused us to think about the security measures that we have on campus. When I first took the position, I had accusations from the labor union saying that I was not being fair to the employees. So imagine stepping into your new job and you're being challenged by the labor unions. Thankfully, I was able to show them all the evidence they needed to ensure that we were in compliance with the agreements that we had with the unions. And so they backed off. On that building that we were erecting, I had to fire our contractor because he was not doing good work. It was shoddy, it was not up to standards, so I had to fire that contractor.